Okay, today's video is going to be about voter fraud, and it's happening. And in some areas, it's pretty bad. In other areas, people say, or they make the claim, well, there's so little of it going on that it doesn't make a difference. So you've got two issues going on here that can be discussed. One, voter fraud is voter fraud. And it shouldn't be happening. We don't want it happening. You know, we've got an election system that we don't want the integrity hurt in any way. And we don't want fraud going on. And we want to have legitimate elections. There's one conversation right there. The other conversation with the same issue of voter fraud is, and this is something that I have never understood, is when someone says, well, yes, a little bit of voter fraud happened, but it was such a little amount of fraud that it didn't make any difference. And their argument for that is, well, let's say two people are running against each other, and one person won by 150,000 votes, and the amount of voter fraud that they found was only like 4,000 or 5,000 votes, and that was it. So even if that fraud had been caught before the election, it still wouldn't have changed the fact that this person won by 94,000 more votes then. So that 5,000 or 6,000 little amount of vote, you shouldn't even have to pay attention to it. And that right there always didn't really set right with me, because my argument to that would be, well, what if two people were voting and you had the same numbers, except for the person that won had 100,000 votes, the person competing had 97,000 votes. 3,000 votes is what this guy won by, but if the fraud hadn't been caught, the person who lost now wins, because it was close enough that that small amount did. And if that person that had the 100,000 was a Democrat and then found out that there was fraud, they would demand that they won, and they would say, well, that was fraud that happened, that's why I lost, because of the 6,000 cheating votes that happened. That's the only time that it would matter. But as long as a Democrat won, well, there was such little there that we don't need to. All of a sudden, that goes out the friggin' window if it's a Democrat that loses to it. You can't have double standards in anything. You can't have it. It doesn't work. Number one. Number two, if you've got any fraud going on anywhere in the election system, that means it's like a tire on your car. If there's a little tiny pinhole, eventually that tire is going to go flat because of that little tiny pinhole that's leaking air. And I don't know about you, but when I get into my car and I take off and I want to go to wherever I want to go, I don't want to not pay attention to a leak and find out that I've got a flat tire. Now I got to take the time to fix it. And that's going to take time away from what I really need to have been doing. But because that major thing happened, slowed up the whole system here, and, well, I had to take time to fix it, but now I'm back on the road and going again. To me, voter fraud is the same thing. Even if there's just a little bit going on somewhere, that means that there's a vulnerability in the system somewhere. And if you sit there and look at it, well, it's just a little problem right now. Yeah, but eventually it's going to get worse. And you don't want it to get worse. You want it to get better. And the only way you can do it is to fix it. Don't sit there and ignore it just because it's just a tiny little thing right now. This is my whole point. And I had put a video up the other day, and it was from CNN. And that Abby, I can't think of her last name, she was the host of this show, and she has a panel of people sitting there talking, and one of them is this Scott Jennings. And he was the one that kind of really made me aware of this voter fraud that's going on, because in New Jersey, the governor came out here, was it a week ago now? I'm not sure when. But the governor of New Jersey comes out and basically said, well, there's been an error in the system, and there was a whole bunch of voting that was allowed to happen that wasn't, because these people that are in New Jersey that are illegal aliens who are not allowed to vote somehow managed to vote. And, well, all of a sudden you've got all of these votes, but they're not supposed to be counted. And I don't know what the results were of that. Did someone who won had to turn around and say, no, now I've lost? I don't know what happened there. I don't know. All I do know is there was a vulnerability in New Jersey's election system. And by the time it was found, maybe it was too late. I don't know. I don't know how they deal with that. I don't know what they do. But I got to be honest with you, it's a blue state. It's all Democrats, and I'm surprised that it was even brought to light that there was fraud going on in a blue state, and the blue state admitted to it. The governor came out and admitted. I think there's way more to this story that I haven't dug into, but maybe I'll do some research on the way to work today to find out. But the bottom line is the whole point of this video right here is I hope that a lot of you out there agree with me that in any election, I don't care if it's for your town selectman, all the way up to your state governor, all the way to the White House and the President of the United States. I don't care who's running. This is America. And if it's one thing that our justice system is based on, and our entire representative republic is based on, is fairness. We got to be fair. And when you got cheating going on and fraud, it's not fair. And you can't allow any of it. It's going to happen. I'm not saying, we got to make it so it never happens, but we got to at least try to keep it in check. We've got to try to do everything that we can to prevent it and keep it as close to fair as we can. We cannot be taking the attitude of, well, there's just this little bit going on over there, or there's a little bit going on over there. We can't take that attitude, in my opinion. I personally think that we need to get rid of as much fraud as we possibly can, focus on detecting it so that it doesn't happen or prevent it from happening, and it can be done. And one big step in that direction is President Trump's Save America Act, where people have to show IDs. That has got to be one of the single most best things to happen to do just what I'm saying, and just the point of this whole video. We got to protect our election system. We got to return it to a point where people trust it. Because look at how many people across the country really don't trust the election system at all. And that right there is the big price that we all pay because of a little bit of fraud here and a little bit of fraud there. Well, you don't pay attention to it, and you keep letting it happen. Next thing you know, you've got fraud everywhere. And then you've got integrity gone, and here we are. So I want to hear what you've got to say. I want to hear your points of view. I know some of you out there watching may not agree with me, and some of you may. Either way, that's fine. Let's have a discussion about it. Definitely leave a comment. Let me know what you think, how you feel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I want to thank you for staying to the end of this video. I've had a great time. I think this was a really good topic this morning. I hope you enjoyed it too. Like I said, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Definitely leave a comment. I want to hear what you have to say. Today is Thursday, July 23rd, 2026. I want you to have a great day. It looks like we're going to have a great day here in Maine. Looks like the sun's going to come out. It's been cloudy and rainy all day yesterday, but today looks like it's going to be a little better. So, all right, you have a good day, and we'll catch you in the next video. We be gone.